there, my name is Joyce and this is Rebecca, and today we're going to show you all the containers we use at Leaf Nursery to grow plants from seed.
So the trays that we use are called 1020s. That's because they're roughly 10 inches by 20 inches. There's two different kinds. There's the one without holes and there's the one with drainage holes. And the main difference that you want to pay attention to is if you're in your house on heating mats, you want to have the one without holes so you can have your tray inside and whatever type of trays inside, and when you go to water them you don't end up with a giant mess. And we also keep them for stability until we bring them back to the greenhouse, and then we take them out and then we have nice drainage.
All right, and so let me show you all the different types of trays we have, or the cell packs that sit in the trays. So here you can see these have the smallest and most, the greatest number of cells in them. This is a 98 cell tray, and then if you flip them over real quick, you'll see that all of them have their own drainage holes. Then we have our most commonly used size, which is the 72 cell trays, and they can be split in half into 36 cells. You can see that there's a little difference here. The smaller cells are more shallow, and then these 36 or 72 cell packs are deeper. All right, let's put these back. So these larger cells that you see here, they're 64 cell packs, and you would use these if you have a larger seed like a pumpkin seed versus like maybe a basil seed here, or if you have less space, let's say, definitely in our greenhouse, we would opt for smaller cell sizes so we can fit more plants in the greenhouse with less amount of trays. And then all of these cell packs, we will transplant them out after they've germinated into these 4-inch pots here, and this is our final product that we sell our seedlings out to the public in our spring and fall plant sales, and they will fit very nicely into these cardboard packaging trays. 6 will fit into these containers. Yep.
Did I talk about the dome?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
But you can talk about it now.
Also, something that you can purchase at garden centers is the dome, and that's what you use to put over top of your seedlings to help them germinate and keep their moisture. The main thing you want to do is take it off a few times a day, shake it off, and let the plants dry out just a little bit because you don't want damping off to happen. And once over 50% of your plants have germinated, you keep the lid off all the time, or else your plants might get leggy. So another general rule is that when you're transplanting, you'll notice that these are all roughly the same size, and we transplant them into the square container, and it's not larger than 2 inches. This 1 gallon, for example, would be too much soil for a little tiny plant like this to be planted into, and you could again rot the roots by having the soil too wet for the amount of roots that are in it, but something like this is perfect.
Okay, so we just talked about all the kinds of cell packs that we use at the greenhouse, and you have a good example right here, but maybe that's not so practical for what you would want to use at home, right? So what are other alternatives that you can find?
When you're planting at home, you can use something very small, poke little tiny holes in it, put it in another container to catch your water from your watering, and then even use the other side, and you've got a perfect little greenhouse. When you have containers to poke the holes, for example, you can use a container like this and use a drill or something else that pokes nice little holes. And a lot of people are worried that they're going to poke too many holes, but the most important thing you want is drainage for the water to come out, so there can be a mix of water and air and not just be fully saturated with water, because your plants don't want to germinate in that. And for example, pots that you buy that we use that are professional do have a lot of holes in them as well. So you also want to choose the appropriate depth of your container. If you're going to plant something inside like pumpkins or Sunflowers, you don't want to do it in something where you're going to have just a tiny, tiny little piece of soil. You want to do something like seed something like that in a larger container. And so the appropriate depth for the size of your seed, something very tiny would go in here and something larger would go in there. And when you're watering, you want to make sure that you have drainage, you have something to catch your water, and that you're watering very gently with something like a spray bottle or the mist on a spray nozzle, or a very gentle watering can so you don't push the seed too far down into the soil. And flexible plastic.
Oh yeah, so another good thing is, okay, so well, you can see here, you can totally buy like smaller cell packs at hardware stores. I got this from Daiso for $1.50, pretty good deal. You could even use, like seed starter pots, they're called here, these compostable peat pots that you can rip apart. There's pros and cons to that too. But one main thing that you should think about when you either repurpose your plastics or buy something is that I think flexible plastics are probably most preferred. Why? It's a little easier to maneuver as the gardener. You can squeeze and massage, the seedling out. Another benefit is that because you can gently move the seedling and the little bits of soil out of the cell pack, you are probably reducing the chance of damaging the roots that are already growing so gingerly inside the cell. Yep.
And we do have another YouTube video that shows how to get your plants out of your cell pots very easily.
Yeah, if you're interested in learning how to transplant even multiple seedlings out of one 4-inch pot, check out our other YouTube video.
And so we encourage you to be thrifty with your containers for doing your own seeding at home. Just make sure that you clean them very good beforehand, and happy seeding.
Yeah.